Hey, this is Eddie Hale, and today I want to talk to you about what I like to call the pen tool other stuff. It's not extra stuff that you don't need to know, it's essential stuff that you've got to know to be a pen tool power user. So let's get down to it. I'll see this happen a lot in class where a student will make a neat little illustration like this, and then they'll go to fill it with a color, and they'll be surprised. I'm going to fill it with a little red color. Ooh, what happened there? What happened was, as the person was drawing this, they accidentally became disconnected from the path and continued drawing, and they don't have one continuous path. There's a path that starts here and goes over to here, and it keeps going around the head to the front of the beak, and it fills in. An open path in Illustrator will fill in between the two endpoints, and I can see it filling in there. There's another path that goes down here and then ends at the end of the foot here, and it fills in between the endpoints, and then there's a little path from here to here that fills in between the endpoints. So the question is, what are we going to do about that? Well, we have to connect those paths together, and here's how you do it. The first thing I want to do is connect this point and this point. I'm going to use the white arrow, the direct selection arrow, and I'm going to select those two endpoints. I could click on one and shift click on the other. I often will marquee them in if there's enough space to draw a little marquee around them. I can tell just those two anchor points are selected because they're blue and all the other anchor points are white. And if I hit Command J on my keyboard, it'll join those two anchor points with a straight line segment. I am going to connect these two back here. The interesting thing about these two anchor points here is they happen to be right exactly on top of each other. If I select two anchor points that are perfectly on top of each other and I hit Command J, they become one anchor point. It doesn't draw a straight line between the two, they just become one. So that's kind of nice. Am I done? It looks like I'm done, but I'm not quite done because there's a little spot down here where his leg comes up and meets his body that's not connected. I could draw a little marquee. So notice I'm starting where there's nothing and I'm drawing a little marquee and I'm getting just the two endpoints in. I could draw a little marquee and I could hit Command J, but it's going to draw a straight line between those two, and I don't want a straight line. I want those two to be on top of each other. So I have two options. I could grab one of them and drag it on top of the other one, and Smart Guides will snap them on top of each other. There's this other thing I do. It's a shortcut. If they're close to each other and I know that I want them to be on top of each other, I'll hit the keystroke Command Option Shift J, and what that does is it averages the 2 points together, brings them together, puts them on top of each other, and joins them. Please remember that forever. Command J, if the anchor points are far away, it'll draw a straight line. If the anchor points are on top of each other, it will make them into 1 point. If the anchor points are close to each other and you want them to come together and join, it's Command Shift Option J. Now, how did that happen? How does the person become disconnected from the path? It usually happens when you're doing something like this. You're drawing the bird and you're using one of my tricks where you go, oh, I have to adjust that handle. So you hold the Command key and you get the arrow and you go back and you adjust the path a little bit, and then you're going to adjust this handle down here, but you miss it and you deselect the path. When you deselect the path like that, it seems like I should be able to drag another anchor point over here and be connected, but I'm not. Because I deselected the path, Illustrator thinks I don't want to deal with it anymore and I want to start a new path. What you do about it is if you want to become reconnected, you go over the last anchor point, the cursor changes, it gets a little slash by it, and now I can press and drag out of that anchor point and I'm reconnected to the path, and now I can continue drawing. The other way it might happen is if you're drawing along and you're drawing and then you switch tools. I'll see students who will go over and grab the direct selection arrow and they'll adjust things like this, and then they'll go back to the pen tool and then they'll start drawing again down here, and they expect to be connected, but because they switched tools, they became disconnected. So the same thing, you'd have to drag a direction handle out of that anchor point and then continue drawing. What if you want to split a path or cut a path for some reason? There are some fun things you can do. Let's say you wanted to cut this bird here. There are 3 or 4 different ways I can think of to do it. The first one that I use often is I'll use the scissors tool. If I use the scissors tool and click on an anchor point, it'll cut right there. I don't have to click on an anchor point. I can click in the middle of a path and it'll cut the path there. And so what did it do? If I grab this little chunk, I cut that poor bird's beak off. So if you need to split a path, you can click on it with the scissors tool. Another interesting tool, it's hidden beneath the eraser tool with the scissors tool, is the knife. And if you have a selected path and you drag across it with the knife tool, it cuts that path there and you can pull it apart. Another interesting tool is the eraser tool. The eraser tool, when you drag it, it eliminates the path and it leaves the shape closed. So if I decided that I wanted my little bird to be sitting on the nest, I could carefully erase his legs, and it's still a closed path, but I just got rid of those. You can do other interesting things too, like if you wanted to cut off his head, or if you wanted to give him an eye, I can erase him right there. The last interesting tool I think we could talk about here when it comes to splitting paths is the pencil tool. It has a path eraser. If you wanted to get rid of a chunk of this path, you could drag with it with a pencil eraser and it opens the path up there. Unlike the eraser tool, this eraser tool, the pencil eraser opens up the path. So you could take the pen tool and you know how to connect to a path that's open. You drag from the last anchor point and you could just add a little style to your bird here. Make him into a little bit of a cardinal. That's the other stuff that I want you to learn. Finally, I want to tell you about probably the most important power user tool I ever use. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, and that is the one where if you're drawing along and you have to adjust the path, I hold the command key and I go back. And if the last arrow I used was the white arrow, that's the arrow I will get to do some path adjusting. And I can go back on this thing and adjust it all over the place. As long as I don't accidentally deselect anything, then the next time I click, I'm still going to be connected to my path. I can adjust things, and then I'm still connected to my path. So there you go. That's the pen tool, other stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye.